So have you ever had the feeling of being stuck or feeling stuck? And I think that's something that a lot of people have had. It's not something that is unique to one particular person, and it's something that I've experienced myself. Not well, I experience myself sometimes, but I think the most successful people experience those feelings. It's not necessarily because you're procrastinating about certain things. It might be just that you don't necessarily know what to do. But I think the most successful people, when they feel stuck, they have strategies in order to move forward. So I just want to just sort of share a few things that you might do if you don't feel like you're moving forward, if you feel as though you're stuck. Not, as I said, not necessarily that you're procrastinating, but it's just that you're feeling stuck and not moving forward. I think one of the first things you could do is really take a step back. When you're stuck, sometimes what you try to do, or you may try to just really intensify the amount of work that you're doing and try and push on and just, in a way, sort of not necessarily come to terms or admit that you're stuck. You just plow on ahead, you forge on ahead thinking that at some point something's going to change, something's going to be different, but it's not necessarily going to be that way. I'll give an example. A client of mine who was really good resume, really good CV, and they were getting interviews left, right, and centre, 2-3 interviews a week, sometimes more. They were having interview after interview. Their confidence was really high, but after I think the 5th or 6th interview with no offer, and then they were having more and more interviews, or at least no second or third stage of interview, their confidence just really hit the floor because they didn't really understand why they were getting so many interviews but not making progress. Their approach was to just really forge on, just to really push ahead and continue with that, because they saw that as the fact that they were getting interviews, they saw that as success. But I said to them, to my client, I said, have you thought about why you're not getting to a second stage or getting any particular offers, etc.? And they had thought of why, and what they'd done in doing that is really sort of put themselves in a sense of panic even, or a sense of uncertainty, because what they were doing is just asking them, why is it? Is it because of this? Did I do that? Or did I get that wrong? Is it because I rushed that exercise, or I answered that question in that? So in their head, they were sort of drawing their own conclusions as to why they weren't moving forward. To which I said, have you got some feedback on your interviews to understand from the interviewer's perspective why you're not making progress? And lo and behold, they'd not got that feedback that they needed in order to have that data, that valuable data, to understand why they weren't moving forward. So what they did eventually is get the feedback, get the data, and make the improvements that they needed in order to then get onto the second stage, the third stage of their interview, and eventually get the job. But sometimes you just have to take a step back and really think why. Don't just forge ahead, don't just plow on. Take a step back and think about why it is you're not moving forward, why you're not making progress. And it's important to be as specific as possible, because it's hard to move forward until you understand why you are stuck. And in that particular situation, that particular example I just gave you, they were able to do that, was really get specific. Another reason that you may feel stuck, and I've experienced this myself and speak to umpteen people that experience this, is that I became really disconnected with my why. So working a job in recruitment, in my early days in recruitment and hiring, I was pretty good at it, but I was working in a sector and for a business that I didn't necessarily enjoy. And I began to blame what I was doing rather than why I was doing what I was doing. So along the road, I came to understand it wasn't necessarily because I was working in recruitment, but it was because I was working in a specific area of recruitment, in a specific company, a specific niche that I didn't really connect with. I was disconnected from my why, to the point that years later, I was back in recruitment again, but this time I was working in a sector, I was working for businesses that I really had a connection with, and I began to really find myself again and feel as though I was moving forward, and I was unstuck and felt liberated, I felt free. So reconnecting with your why is maybe a reason that you're feeling stuck. Another reason you might be feeling stuck, and I've kind of alluded to this in a previous podcast, is you are so focused on what you're doing. You become isolated in your thoughts. So by that I mean, you're working from home, you're working from wherever you are on a remote basis. You just focused so much on your work, and you focus on your family, you're focused on the day-to-day routine, that you just become, you feel as though you're not making progress, because you're so over-focused on just work and performance and doing what you have to do. You have to make time to take those blinkers away and see what's going on around you in the world. You're at home in your home office or your remote office or wherever it is you may be working from. You got to take those blinkers away. You got to see what other people are doing. You've got to connect with people. You've got to have conversations with people. You've got to avoid that isolation, because you'll feel as though it's just a grind, you're just sort of treading water almost. And when you begin to sort of break down, look over the parapet, so to speak, you begin to get ideas. And then when you get those ideas, you begin to see your value. You begin to see, actually, maybe I could go in this direction or do this, or we could go there, or we could experience this. And you feel less stuck, because you now have options. You now understand what options that you have. So don't, please, because I've done this myself, so I know the trouble it can cause. Please try not to become isolated in your thoughts, because that will lead to those things that I've just mentioned there. So take a time to really let go on what's not working. So again, I in my own career, there was a point where I was trying to establish myself as a Facebook marketer, and that was one of the routes I was using to expand my career. And I was getting myself into the weeds of the technicalities of Facebook and how to set up an advert, how to write an advert, how to use the Facebook system, how to navigate the whole business map. I was just right in it, and I was doing all the technical stuff, and I thought, this could be a solution for me to really take my career forward in working on a remote basis for different clients. And I was carrying on with this, and I just felt to myself, this is not working. I'm not making progress. I'm not really into this. It's not working for me. I don't feel connected with it. I don't feel comfortable or confident to do this. And I thought to myself, at some point I said to myself, if this is not working, I need to let it go. By letting it go, what I meant was not necessarily letting go of the whole idea of doing Facebook, but letting go of the idea of getting into the weeds of doing Facebook, if you see what I mean. For me, it was the weeds, because I just didn't enjoy it. So what I did instead was I hired somebody to do the Facebook side for me. I hired people to actually do the technical stuff, and they were a lot better at it than I was, and that was their thing. And that was a lot more successful because then I could contribute my own strengths to making that work. And it did work. It was great because we had a combination of account management, account directing, which is what I was doing. And the people I hired, they were doing the adverts for me, the sort of Facebook adverts. They were doing the Google adverts for me. So that was an example of me letting go of something where I was just feeling stuck. It wasn't working. And the reason I was feeling stuck there was because mentally I couldn't get my head around what it was I was doing. So for you, it might mean that you need to let go. There's something that you might need to let go of and really begin to understand that it doesn't suit you, for example. So that's just an example. Let go of things that are not working. So there's just a few things there that you might want to do if you're feeling stuck. But I think the first thing, one of the biggest things to do is admit that you're stuck and be specific about what it is you're stuck on. And it might be that it's not, in order to get yourself unstuck, it's not what you do to get yourself unstuck, but it might be that you ask yourself, who can help you to get unstuck? So think about that. But the last thing you want to do, as I said before, is just dwell on what you're doing, because then it becomes procrastination. And if you procrastination, it will just essentially create even more doubt, create even more anxieties in your mind. So I think another big thing that's involved with getting unstuck is taking action. You must take action in some way. And that action, as I said before, it might be something as little as sitting down in a sort of environment where you can think, where you've got your own space, and just write down, or at least begin to understand in your own mind that you are stuck, admitting that you're stuck. That in itself is action. Admitting that you're stuck, writing down maybe what your primary problem is. Then the next step from there might be then reaching out to somebody who can help you to overcome that action. So overcome that problem. So yeah, taking action is a big thing. So I don't want to, as I said, I don't want these episodes to be too long. I just want to be able to give you some ideas to take yourself from where you are now to where you want to be. And that involves, more than anything, really understanding yourself and taking action to move yourself from where you are now to where you want to be.